Elk to Adelaide pipeline was opened and recycled water is now flowing to the parched parklands. But it's come too late for thousands of trees. Dead and dying trees are now a feature of Adelaide's landscape, raising questions of whether more should have been done to save them. It was the good news story at the height of summer. Just 11 days into the new year, the Glenelg Wastewater Pipeline or GAP project was officially opened. But while the politicians turned on the taps, the trees in parts of the parklands not connected to the new scheme were dying from lack of water. Professor David Jones played a key role in getting the Adelaide parklands on the National Heritage Register in 2008. And last year he took State Line on a tour of one of its longest elm plantations. The old elms, planted in 1886, that used to line an entrance to the city, were water-stressed and dying. And he said up to 20% of Adelaide's trees were also on the way out.
When a lot of the street trees were planted, councils irrigated them. They came along and constantly irrigated them, and residents also watered them with their hoses.
A year later, we went back to the South Parklands. Things had gone from bad to worse.
There are many areas that are simply dead. The area we're in at the moment has at least 4 to 5 trees that were dead last Christmas. We're looking at areas along this avenue, approximately 20 to 30 trees will easily die. We've got about 20 trees sitting in the middle of Green Hill Road, which are part of the parklands, but they've died in the last 6 months simply because of lack of watering.
We're doing our best, and thanks to the government for the GAP system, that's fantastic, but we need to keep going. We mustn't just say, well, that solved it. It hasn't. If we lost all our street trees, Adelaide would be a very hot, dusty, unattractive place, and that's where we're headed.
And although it's been trying to keep trees alive by using recycled water, the City Council says 842 trees still died in the last financial year. According to Professor Jones, if water had been made available, it would have cost just 20 cents a day per tree to save them. And we'll now have to live with the consequences of being water-wise.
The progressive defoliation of Adelaide will have progressively a considerable impact upon the environment of Adelaide. The cool, the green image it has, and just the simple outlook from looking out from Windy Point over a green landscape will start disappearing over the next 20 years.
The council says it's planted thousands of trees and shrubs over the last year, and the state government has given $300,000 for more plantings, which will include 1,000 mature trees. But Councillor Anne Moran says even with the new plantings and the new pipeline, more trees will die. Street trees are still not being watered, and there are plenty of parts of the parklands where the pipeline will never go.
I think trees are massively undervalued. If these were great big old elephants or mammals of some sort, a blue whale, we would be screaming from the rafters. But if it's a wonderful 100-year-old tree and it dies, well, you know, that's the way things go. And we do seem to have a philosophy running through society at the moment that we're undervaluing our European trees. I've noticed in council reports, if it's suggested a tree goes, one of the black marks against it is, oh, well, it's not a native tree.
By contrast, across the border, the Melbourne City Council has taken a different approach. While European trees in Adelaide have been dying, the Melbourne Council won special watering dispensations and put in place kilometres of drip lines to keep its 150-year-old elms alive. It also uses a formula to calculate the value of a tree. The most significant are worth more than $100,000, and so it's able to put a price tag on its parklands.
A quick calculation, that gives us a dollar value of $95,608 for the tree. We do look at things from an asset management perspective, and that dollar value, if you averaged $10,000 per tree within the municipality, you've got an asset worth $650 million, and that is really quite considerable. So that motivates the resources that you actually put into maintaining those trees.
But it's not just councils that have put a price tag on trees. Real estate agents have known for years that trees push up property prices.
Trees are huge value in terms of housing. But even if we looked at $50,000 for one of these beautiful street trees here, it would have a very strong negative impact on the value of the housing if the trees weren't there, or if they were dying, or if they were dead.
And that's what's happening to thousands of street trees and trees in home gardens.
Well, it's a pretty awful thing to happen, isn't it? And if that happens continuously around Adelaide, there's going to be...
Jock Gilbert has worked in real estate for more than 30 years in the leafy suburbs that are now not so leafy.
There's a street very close to here in another suburb which has got no trees at all, and it's arguably the least valuable street in the suburb. But I think with water restrictions now and trees are dying, people are starting to question and starting to look at the problem that we've now got, but who knows where it's going to go.
You could think about the replacement cost of a tree and it would be worth a lot of money.
Professor Steve Pulaski is an advisor to the US Environment Protection Authority. He was in Adelaide recently for a conference and said we'd all soon change our attitude if we thought of trees as investments.
If you were going to plant a tree 300 years ago in order to get it now, and you spent $100 and you could have gotten 5% interest rate, that's basically saying that now that is worth an investment of $1 million. $1 million.
So really, if we thought about 100-year-old trees
right.
as investments,
yes.
then they're worth a lot of money.
They're worth a lot of money.
And so maybe it's now time to count the cost of the trees we've lost and ask whether saving the water that could have kept them alive was worth it. And perhaps it's also time to remember the Chinese proverb that says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. And that's Dateline for tonight. You can contact us at abc.net.au/dateline/SA. Well, next Friday.